San Antonio! Welcome to All Things San Antonio podcast with your hosts and favorite realtors, Brad Burns,
Ken Carter, and we're here with one of my favorite guests of all time, and he hasn't even started speaking yet, Hunter Schiro.
Welcome, everyone.
The Hunter is here to talk about a variety of things, but let's start off like we always do. Let's get a little bit of background on Hunter. We were talking a little bit before, asking, are you from San Antonio? You say you're from San Antonio, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, when I was 12, 2005, Katrina hit. I was in New Orleans at the time.
August 29th.
Yeah.
Ex-wife's birthday, I remember.
Really? So I moved over. My family moved over. Went to middle school, high school here. I went to Ronald Reagan in Stone Oak. Mm-hmm. They left after I graduated high school. I stayed here, dropped the anchor, and I've been here since.
I think that's something about San Antonio that happens a lot, is you get here and then, especially once you start building that friend group and everything, and the people are so giving and helpful to each other, it's hard to leave because you almost, like that anchor gets real. Like you get stuck here.
Oh, absolutely.
In a good way.
Yeah. And a part of the reason why I stayed is because I intended to go to law school at some point, and Louisiana practices what's called Napoleonic law. So they still do civil law. If you take the bar in Louisiana, you can only practice there. Whereas Texas has a reciprocity with many states.
Okay.
So if I took the bar here, eventually down the road, became a lawyer, I could end up moving. Whereas I'm kind of stuck in Louisiana if I stayed or took the bar in Louisiana.
They got that French background.
They do. It's French laws.
There's French law.
Yeah.
That's why they call them parishes. They don't have any counties.
That's
over
true.
there.
You're spot on.
That's interesting. Why? I mean, I don't know if you know this, but why does Louisiana practice that way?
Because they're ass backwards with everything. They just can't adopt.
Yeah.
They have to be that way. They're Cajun. They have to go their own way a lot.
Yeah, so now most states have the uniform bar. So, I mean, if you pass the bar now in Texas, you could practice in maybe 30 states. There's only a handful. And
It's not much different with real estate. You have a national test, and then you have a few questions that'll be on there. Not even half the questions, I think, of the national side for each state. Same thing with mortgage. You have a little bit of that. But let's talk about your industry. We're going to get into the cannabis industry, and one of the things that I'm going to tell people what I know, just kind of, and then you said that I don't even know the half of it, and everything.
Sure.
What I think and what I know, I think is awesome, because we met back in like 2017, 2018, when I was working at a poker room. We talked about this on your previous podcast, getting my license, and you were a young kid going to school, going to college. You're at St. Mary's, and you already piqued my interest because you had the vending machines there, and you had vending machines a number of places, and I was like, man, this kid's an entrepreneur. And then you had a normal shirt. You were talking about the legalization of marijuana. I was like, man, this kid he's an entrepreneur. He's bold. And then I find out you had the plan, and this is 2018 before anybody's the hemp law changed to where you could actually start growing hemp in Texas and start selling those things. This is before that. You had the forethought to start going to school for this. And take it away.
Yeah, so I was in the card house one day, and there was 120 people there, and there wasn't even vending machines. And I looked at the owner and said, why aren't there vending machines here? And she told me they'll be here in a week. So I told her, I said, look, if I could get them here tomorrow, can I have the vending machines here? She said yes. So I cashed out my chips, walked to the cage, grabbed a U-Haul, drove to Houston, where a hub is for vending machines, bought 6 of them, drove them back, and had them there within 12 hours. Wow. So I did that, and then obviously it worked. So I went to other card houses, and I set up shop in those. So I was doing that, going to law school, also playing poker for a living. I was able to sustain and graduate without student loans because of that.
Did you have somebody that you knew had done vending machines before, or did you just kind of it's just a light bulb kind of idea?
No, it was just it just seems so obvious. I don't know why they hadn't done it yet. So cashed out and went for it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I graduated from high school. I went to college. I didn't want to go to college, but I didn't want to work. And I was playing poker professionally, semi-professionally. So I went to UTSA. I ended up going to St. Mary's, because even after 5 years at UTSA, I wanted to still, chill, play poker, play video games. So I ended up going to law school. My first day of law school, I knew I would never be a practicing attorney. It just wasn't for me. But I became more familiar with regulations and government agencies. And I started law school in 2016. I knew in 2018 the federal government would pass a farm bill. They do it every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew 2018 farm bill was going to come out, and there was rumors that they were going to legalize the cultivation of hemp. So it piqued my interest. I have friends that have grown hemp before it was legal, let's just say that, that I called up and said, hey, if this becomes legal, do y'all want to get together and talk about starting a business? We're probably the best cultivators. We know how to sell it. And they said yes. So sure enough, in 2018, the federal government passed the 2018 Farm Bill. It took about a year to enact. And what that did, they took the definition of cannabis. Mm-hmm. So prior to 2018, prior to the Farm Bill, the definition of cannabis was the same as marijuana. So it was illegal, it was a schedule, it was illegal, you could not have it.
Right.
So what they did was they took that definition and bifurcated it. So they split it into two. It's cannabis can now be determined hemp or marijuana. So the difference between the two is the THC content within. So common sense is like, okay, well, how much THC, right? And that depends on the product or the plant. So it's actually on a dry weight basis.
Okay.
So if you had a plant, right, say it was just like this. It looks like marijuana, it smells like marijuana, it smokes like marijuana, but if less than 0.3% of that plant is THC, it's considered hemp. So cannabis is now ambiguous, right? What that did is made cannabis mean hemp or marijuana. So that's great. So we started growing hemp, which is the same thing as marijuana with less THC.
Right.
We knew we needed to start a retail company. So we started a retail company in order to sell what we're going to grow eventually, knowing that let's buy it from other people now, broker it, make some money. Later on, we'll do our own production, right? So that's what we did. So we started a retail store that sold CBD tinctures, or topicals, or it was CBD at the time. And within 3 months, we opened a second one. It's just me and my partner. He's about my age. No financial backing, no debt. We started our company with 40 grand, just us two. So we do that. We're able to do that, and they're both working out. We had one employee at the time, and the only reason why we had one employee is because we like going to happy hour and coming back. So we had one employee, right? So eventually we're like, okay, we need to grow. We need to start growing our own. So the issue was we wanted to grow our own, but we had no money and we had no property. Yeah. So my partner lived in Blanco at the time, which is about an hour north. Mm-hmm. So he would go 281 North home every day. And he'd pass by this great property that was a farm property. And one day they had a Tahoe for sale. So my partner calls the number on the Tahoe and says, hey, I know your car's for sale. I'm not interested in your car. I want to go grow hemp on your property. And the guy's like, oh, I'll think about it, and hung up. So we're like, didn't think much about it.
Man, what a cold call.
Right? Yeah, right? So 2 days later, the guy calls us, and his name is Bo. His name is Bo Quinn, like as country as you could get, nicest man. He's like, hey, we'd like to meet and talk about what that would look like. So I meet with him, and this is still early 2019. Yeah. So the Farm Bill had been passed, but Texas haven't even passed their regulations around it.
Yeah. There's shops opening up everywhere. Yeah.
So I say, Bo, I know this sounds crazy, but we want to grow hemp on your property. It's not legal yet. It'll be legal within the next 3 months. We don't know what it looks like, but we want to start preparing now. So after talking for about 2 hours, they were in. They were our partners. We were able to grow and cultivate on their property. They also helped with the bill and the footing, and we were going to split profits, do all that. So we were 9 months into our company. We had 2 retail stores and a farm. Holden maintained the farm. He's my partner. I maintained the retail stores. So we started growing our own hemp and cultivating. In the first year, it was like 103 every year. So hot, almost impossible to grow. The plants weren't growing crazy. We were
growing outside and everything?
We were. So we were growing 4 acres outside, and then another 200 plants inside of a really well-built greenhouse. But we're also worrying about things like hail and things like that. Yeah. So we grew. We didn't grow well. But
first-time farmers.
We were growing. No, he's been growing. Oh, wait. He's been growing cannabis forever in California, right? Like he is the go-to guy in California. But going
Texas
from
different.
California to 102 outside, you know what I mean?
Some different weather.
Oh, for sure. So
But that's the thing about business, though, is like people take those little setbacks and everything as a failures, but they're your learning opportunities to keep moving forward and grow that much faster afterwards.
also knowing that our competition is going to face those same failures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just us figuring it out. So it stressed us out, you know? He's used to seeing 7-foot plants and they were 18 inches. So it's going to it's going to be hard to explain the bow, but this is going to be a learning curve. So while he's doing that, I am brokering products. So a crazy story, right? I go to a smoke shop, I see a brand on the shelves, and I pick up the brand, I call them and I say, hey, I saw your brand at the store, I'd like to be able to pitch you a product. And they were selling e-liquid at the time. And what I wanted to pitch them was CBD stuff. So the guy was like, hey, be in Austin in an hour. So I run in my car, gas it to Austin. And I explained to him, I said, look, you're an e-liquid, so think of like big nicotine clouds, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, try selling this. This isn't as over-regulated as your industry. It's a complete cold call, and they did. So we picked up our first client, and they're a national client. They're in a ton of stores. And at the time, we were making no money because I would call people and beg for consignment, repackage it in their packaging, and do everything on consignment, and that's all I was doing.
Wow.
So I called a manufacturer that was making marijuana gummies in a different state. And I said, hey, I know you don't know me, and I know I'm young, but take a shot on me. I need you to mail me 500,000 gummies, and I need you to do it on consignment. And he thought about it. It took a good week to get a response, and they did it. So we were selling, CBD gummies, CBD tinctures, all that kind of stuff. And then what happened was people discovered that there is a molecule in cannabis that's naturally occurring that is not governed by the Farm Bill because it's not Delta-9 THC, but it's also intoxicating. It's called Delta-8 THC. Have y'all ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
So what we realize is that the Delta-8 THC content can be over that 0.3%, and we could sell it. So we went from selling non-intoxicating medical products like a tincture or a gummy or a lotion to selling intoxicating vape carts and gummies and things like that overnight. And our company tripled in size. So, for the first 18 months, we had a 1,200 square foot retail store, and we were making their products in the back 600 square feet, just repackaging everything on consignment.
Yeah.
So once Delta 8 got around, we were able to save some money. And we moved into a small warehouse. So we're 2 years in now, and we're in about 2,500 square foot. We have 4 or 5 employees that we order gummies. They take the gummies out the box, they put them in their bags, and then we ship them. So we're doing that. And things pick up. We get another couple customers. But then I have a bright idea. So I read the Farm Bill again, the entire thing, which it was lengthy.
This is where that law degree comes in handy.
Yeah. It helped. It helped. So I'm reading it. I'm like, 0.3%. So I called the CEO of that former e-liquid company, and I said, look, we need to go have we call them like a sewer conversation, because if we leave their building, you could go to the side and talk privately. Like, we need to go talk behind the building about something. I want to pitch you something. So he says, okay, what is it? So I said, 0.3% on a dry weight basis. I said, if you do edibles, if you get a gummy bear, say a gummy is 10 grams, right? You could put up to 30 milligrams actually of THC in that product. That's same as marijuana. If it's 29 milligrams, it's a hemp product. I said, why don't we try to launch a regular THC, hemp-derived THC company and sell those? So think about it, right? A 10-gram gummy is 10,000 milligrams. 0.3% of that is 30 milligrams. So you don't need that much to get intoxicated. A 5 or 10 milligram product.
My mom takes about 2 milligrams to go to sleep.
Yeah.
My brother's like a 5 milligram edible guy with the Delta 8 to go to sleep. It doesn't take much.
It doesn't at all, and it was shocking to realize, like a light bulb went off, that we could sell regular THC products under the Farm Bill and it be federally legal. So What that means is if this product's a legal product, we could ship it interstate. We could also sell it online. If you sell marijuana, right? If you're a marijuana company, say, your plant's 3%, right? Then you cannot practice interstate commerce. You have to buy it intrastate. So say there's a marijuana company in California, they have to get their marijuana from providers within the state. So with what we determined was, look, this is technically legal. It's under 0.3%, bright line rule. Let's launch it. And let's launch it nationwide and see if we get in trouble or not, So that's what we did. We got
Love it.
we got a 6-gram gummy, which is probably about the size of a quarter, a little bit bigger. And we launched a 15 milligram THC gummy that was hemp-derived THC nationwide. And we went from 100 stores to 10,000 within 6 months. We were the first people to really realize, holy shit, this is actually legal.
That's crazy.
So we did that, and we blew up quickly, quickly enough to where we saved, and we went from 600 square feet to 2,500 to 10,000, a different warehouse, to 20,000 to 30,000 square feet, all within 18 months. We went from 2 employees to over 60.
Wow.
Holden and myself, bootstrapped, never 1 penny of debt. We worked the first 2 years without even taking salary from the company. I was playing poker and doing things on the side. Holden was doing whatever
I know how
he
you play
does.
poker. You're doing okay.
I was doing all right, So we're able to just reinvest. And then we got to a point to where instead of ordering 500,000 gummies, we were making it. And we didn't even tell our customer that the recipes changed or the provider changed. The whole time they thought we were making them. So I went from making, 2 cents a gummy to whatever our margins are now, you know what I mean? And really mass producing. So that's just a quick synopsis of how we got to where we are.
You went through so many business masterclass business school techniques, or if you will, in solutions to get to where white labeling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that white label where they're talking about even from energy and stuff like that, but to have the wherewithal to white label gummies and resell them that way.
Yeah. So it was all foreign to me. But the way I was thinking is, look, this is so new that there's not people that are already have a huge footprint in our industry. So let's do this. Let's find parallel industries where people are already selling it well or marketing well and pitch our products to them. So that e-liquid company I'm talking about, they went from $350K in sales annually to doing over $2 million a month within 18 months of meeting us. And, they're on Forbes' fastest growing list of companies and everything like that. But yeah, the white label was huge. Our technique now is our core competency is mass production and its compliance. So I'm an attorney. We have a tremendous chemist on staff. His name is Roberto. He came on board about 2 years ago. And we help people. We say, look, we're going to make you a product that's compliant, that is an amazing product. We're going to mass produce it for a great price. Y'all sell it, So now what we do is we target actually marketing companies or companies that are already selling well. We'll approach someone, hey, you're already selling and we don't work with this company. I'm just using an example. Mm-hmm. Say one of the big water brand companies. I'll reach out to them and say, look, you're selling something that's heavy, that's hard to move. Your margins probably aren't great. Try selling this. I'll make the first order on consignment. If it sells well, you reorder. If it doesn't, then at least you took the risk. So that's what we do now. And I know that you'll probably have a lot of questions, but we got there pretty quickly. But, it's important to note, the legality side of it.
What about on the, so the marijuana side? So y'all are on the hemp side right now.
Yeah.
And you see the marijuana side getting legalized more and more all over.
Yeah.
Do y'all fear that? Do y'all welcome that? What is y'all's, where do you fit in that?
So I think the industries will coexist. If you go to a state like Colorado that mm-hmm. has a well-established marijuana company, they still sell hemp. You'll still be able to buy hemp at gas stations and specifically online, right? You probably won't be able to buy marijuana in those manners in a long time.
Yeah.
So they'll coexist. But luckily, we're in a state where, I guess it doesn't matter, but we're in a state to where it's not going to be legalized in Texas. It will not. We lobby hard, stateside and nationally, as far as marijuana, and with and against them on some things. And Texas will be the last state. Marijuana will be legalized federally before Texas legalizes it here. I can almost guarantee you that.
I can.
Which is bad news to some people, you know.
But it's not. But that's the thing is that's why there's like a product like yours where, like you can still participate if you want to, like in a legal manner.
100%. But most people don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I would say 90% of people still have no clue that what we're selling is what's going on. You know, I bet you ask 10 of your friends, at least 9 of them would say you could buy legal gummies in Texas. They'll look at you like you're crazy. So, but our industry is overcoming a battle to get it known.
Yeah.
Right?
And it goes along with the stigma and stuff. And I said it like my mom is a great example. Like the fact that she is even willing, like she takes gummies at night to help her sleep and stuff like that. Like I mean, I grew up I'm of the age where like they're the reefer madness videos and movies. My dad literally when I was 4th grade, what was his position? He's in the Air Force. It was chief of social actions, and basically he was the on-base counselor, like the head of the counseling office for drug and alcohol, marital spouse abuse, stuff like that. Yeah. And he had me and my brother come to his office, and he would show us these Angel Dust is Not Your Friend, like all these crazy whacked out movies and stuff like that. And so like we were so like crazy against it and stuff, and like I'm an active and enthusiastic participate in it, and to see my mom like take it's so helpful. When the CBD like the ointments, I'm not 100% sure they work. I think some of it's psychosomatic, but like my mom's like, no, it helps my knees every time. It's like okay, it's great.
Yeah, and you were seeing more and more of that. You know, THC taken responsibly with correct dosaging is becoming the new wine. It's really how people unwind at the end of the day. Most people would think our target demographic is probably young people that want to get stoned. It's not.
I think it's Gen Xers.
Yeah, it is, 100%. It is. It's people that are looking to help cure something.
Yeah.
And look, I don't make medical claims, but if people need to go to sleep and they need 5 milligrams of THC that's 100% legal and it can help them go to sleep, then they should have access to it.
It's probably no different than melatonin or...
It's very similar.
And I think that I talk about a lot in all regards. Like I have kids, college-age kids, and even in middle school and still. And I tell them, hey, look, if you go out there, if the government hasn't put a label on it or it's not sealed or grown out of the ground, don't touch it. Like you can't trust. Like there needs to be some regulation, and like I'm a libertarian at heart on a lot of things, but at the same time, it's like I understand that like we got to do some regulation so we don't because there's people that are going to kill you if not.
100%.
And so I'm all for it.
Yeah. So luckily, our legislative session here in Texas meets biannually, so they meet every 2 years. This upcoming one, which will happen around June 2025. Will be the time for the state because now they understand what's happening, right? It's going to be them to lay out rules and regulations, but if you get it from a legitimate source now, like our company, we welcome that. You know, we work in a facility that if we were governed by the FDA, we'd be up to their standards. So we're CGMP compliant. We have a chemist on staff. We lab test every product in-house, which is very rare. So every product we have, and most people should, is we test it in-house with a liquid chromatography machine. So we'll take a gummy bear every morning. We'll bring it over to the machine, run it, and see what the THC content is within that product. And then based off of that number, we'll make the batches for the day or whatever it is we're making. But what I'm getting at is still in our industry, unfortunately, that there's not a lot of regulation.
Yeah.
It's coming, and we're welcoming to it. You know, so DSHS is the regulatory body that governs hemp-derived THC. And 3 years ago was probably the last time I spoke to them, other than their inspections. And I asked them, you know, I was trying to get clarity on things. I said, well, are we supposed to be doing this? Are we supposed to be doing this? And they said, well, when's someone going to come by to enforce these things? And they said, Hunter, we're at DSHS. We're responsible for all the fisheries in Texas, hemp, and COVID restrictions, and we have 7 employees. That's what they had for the state of Texas. So, we need better regulations, and you're right. If something's unlabeled, if something's not packaged correctly, then you shouldn't take that product, and those people should be reprimanded. So it's kind of the Wild West right now, but regulation's coming. I think in the next 12 months, even what passes next June at that session, it would probably be enacted September 1st, around that time.
Yeah.
It's going to look completely different. It's going to be completely mainstream. There's going to be clear dosaging, child-resistant packaging, things like that.
Yeah, and that's goes. And the thing is, this is every industry. We talked about the similarities with the poker industry, like how it's getting to that regulating where it's going to start getting some regulations around it, I think. But even like something as food trucks, when food trucks first started going crazy, you just saw them everywhere. It was all crazy. It was a wild, wild west. We looked at like the scooters, the bird scooters. It was crazy when they first. Then the city started saying, "Okay, now you can't do it here. You can't do it there." So every industry starts as a wild, wild west, and it scares some people. But it takes mavericks.
Yeah,
Crazy people that are willing to pit, and they say it's the entrepreneurships for the young. I'm gonna defy that standard, but like it's crazy to me because to get to where you are now, because now you've actually had a partial exit even, and you've been able to grow a business where y'all have been able to sell off a part of it for a substantial bit of money, and it's really and it's like to take it boggles my mind to take a non-industry, a non-product that doesn't exist, and then within 5 years, be able to not only grow it to something, but to grow it to what it is crazy.
Yeah, so our first labels were made on a printer in my mom's kitchen, and everything was done there. And whenever we made the decisions that we did, for example, to launch the THC hemp derived nationwide, we did knowing that we didn't have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
Now these companies are bigger and more established, and people are pushing the boundaries a little bit. But it's kind of like, let's see who gets sued. You know what I mean? Now we have something to lose. I don't know how ambitious we would be on flirting with that line anymore. So what actually happened in Texas was really interesting. So whenever Delta 8 got big, we had an enforcement officer come to a store that we sell to. And I went to the store. The guy didn't know I was an attorney, and I produced the product, pretending like I was just like one of the employees. And he was like, "These products are illegal," and I knew they weren't. Yeah. But he pulled out like a regulatory book, and it actually said they were illegal. So I'm like, "What is that? Where's that from?" And so we didn't know this. So DSHS tried to unilaterally make a rule banning Delta 8, just overnight out of thin air. So, we had to do something about it. So we got together a team of attorneys in our conglomerate, and we sued the state. So we basically said, look, y'all made Delta 9 illegal in the Farm Bill, bright line rule. Y'all meet every 2 years for legislative sessions, and y'all did not put into legislation that Delta 8's illegal. This isn't illegal. So we sued them. So not only did we have the balls to sell it, but we were actually suing the state. So it was great, actually. The judge made a determination that we were probably right, and they gave us an injunction on their ruling on making it illegal until it goes to court. So that's why Delta 8 is still legal right now in Texas.
Because of that injunction?
Yep.
Because of you guys.
Yeah. And a lot of states have done similar things. So now we're getting sophisticated enough to where hemp is actually bigger than marijuana now. I don't know if y'all know that. I would estimate that hemp is probably 10 times bigger than marijuana. Wow. Hemp-derived THC. So we're getting at a point to where a lot of the companies we deal with actually have money. And if they want to raise the best lobbyists, if they want to raise money to do lawsuits like that and fight against, not what the Farm Bill laid out, that we can. But to your point, look, we were ambitious, we were young, we didn't have a lot to lose. I don't know if we'd make those same decisions today. Yeah. Now we got to think about different things. Now, Holden and I recently brought in another partner. We exited. We took some chips off the table.
That's what you do.
Yeah, we did. We had an 8-figure valuation in less than 5 years. Took some chips off the table. We sold a third of the company, and now that I took some chips off the table, I have a nest egg. I'm back on Let's take some risk.
Yeah.
Previous to that, we had a lot to lose. All my life savings in this.
The beauty of an LLC and corporations. That's the only thing at risk over there now.
Yeah, exactly, right? Previous to that deal, I have to think about 60 people's jobs and
that's
a
the part
responsibility.
That's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. It's they see like people that may have problems with cannabis and hemp and all this coming up. Like the number of employees, the amount of people that have jobs that are not, I'm assuming they're not minimum wage jobs. They're not going to the fast food worker type jobs. And it's like, these are the big benefits. And same thing with the poker room. Like they hundreds of employees and like the income tax and all this stuff. It's like, it's a huge boost to the economy.
Absolutely. I mean, our industry is already a multi-billion-dollar industry just within Texas, and people don't even know it's legal yet. So this is really going to shock y'all. I think what's going to blow the doors wide open in our industry will happen in the next 6 to 9 months. We're seeing it creep up already. So I'm in with a lot of labs, right? We're a big purchaser of different cannabinoids and things like that because we produce so much. We cook 60 to 100,000 gummies every day. We sell 6,000 bags of gummies every day. We're nationwide. So the next big thing is actually going to be THC in drinks. So right now, people don't know THC, hemp-derived, is legal because people don't go to smoke shops. There are a lot of people like yourself, or usually people like yourself, don't frequent those areas.
Yeah.
I think in the next 12 months, you'll be able to go to almost any bar in Texas and be able to get a THC drink. THC and seltzer.
That's not a bad thing because there's like, as someone who does smoke cannabis and stuff like that, it's like I don't ever want to go to a bar. I have no interest in going to a bar because I don't drink for the most part. I might have a margarita or something with everything, but like people always want to go hang out at a bar and stuff like that, and you do feel left out. So like being able to go there and have like something that's less intoxicant and safer and
very low milligram, probably 2.5 milligram,
and compared to alcohol, it's not a poison.
Yeah, for sure. I've never even tasted one of my products. I do not use cannabis. I drink once every 3 to 6 months. I'll dabble in other things, but someone like me that doesn't use cannabis, that likes the social aspect of it, or people everyone goes to bars. Everyone's now going to see how are they selling THC drinks, like what makes this legal, and then get home and just Google it, and then see what's been going on in smoke shops become much more mainstream.
Yeah.
So we're investing in the infrastructure right now to be able to do the canning ourselves. We'll be able to do drink packets, like a Propel, think of that you could add to your own mixture, and actually a canned beverage line within 180 days. That's what we're focusing on now. I think companies as big as Glacier, so big drink distributors, are going to be picking up pallets of it and distributing it to bars and Specs. And, Specs is one of the leading, the pioneers as far as big companies and carrying these things. But that's going to be huge for us. It's going to be huge for industry. It's hard for us to advertise. You can't advertise, even if places like Facebook say CBD is legal. They'll take down posts, they'll take down Instagrams. We just can't use traditional methods. So even though what we're selling is amazing, it's really hard to let people know. But the emergence of drinks, THC seltzers at a microdose, I think will be that thing that opens the door to more people.
Cool. That's awesome. Man, it's crazy because you have a base product, and now you have like which direction do I want to go from a marketing standpoint and get it out there, from a product standpoint and things like that. It's like it's from the old school is like, and the problem is, and that's why I think so many people like the oils and the vapes and the gummies and things like that, because otherwise the traditional way you just smell like crap.
For sure. So people we're selling in ways that people could use it without smelling like they went to a concert.
But again, it goes back to the dosage too, because like you know exactly what you're taking, you know exactly how it's going to affect you. Like if you're going to like. It goes like that a beer. If I drink 2 beers, I feel exactly like this.
Yep.
Like the other way, it's like there's so much crazy. You don't know what's going to happen, but without that specific dosage.
And something that'll blow your minds even more than that is you're probably thinking, why didn't they have THC drinks for the past 50 years, right?
chemists. These kids today are crazy.
So what we learned is you can actually nano-emulsify THC. So I could get THC distillate, which is a thick oil like syrup, and I could break down the atoms of it and make it to where it is now can blend with water. Previous to this discovery, we would have to use what's called an emulsifier, right? I can't put straight oil into products. We use organic MCT coconut oil. That's the industry standard. It blends well. Oil doesn't mix with water. Y'all probably know that. Oil mixes with oil.
Yeah.
We've now gotten oil to mix with water. So now we can make it to where we could put it into a liquid and it stays in that
form, so it doesn't
form.
settle and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So now
Shake before
that's
drinking.
why this is such a new thing.
Yeah.
And it's happening now. I mean, I could find you a THC beverage probably within 3 square miles of here. But big players are going to get into this. You know, the Anheuser-Busch's, the people like that.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, if they're not there yet, it's coming. And it's brand new, but it's very exciting.
Man, that's crazy, and that's why I appreciate you coming on. Like all of this coming from San Antonio, like this small little town. Like we're still a small town, San Antonio, and it's like, but all the right things came together, the right people.
Just so happened.
The
yeah.
tenaciousness, like it's crazy to me that like just to call somebody about a Tahoe, say, hey, can I grow some weed on your farm?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
like the chick ballsy. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy. Like.
He's like, grow what? Just trust me, dude. It will be legal. It's not legal now. Give it 6 months.
Just trust me. I just met you.
Let's just start clearing the field and tilling it. And we actually did that. We had the field ready. So I said DSHS is the one who governs the retail side.
Yeah.
The side that governs the cultivation is actually TDA, Texas Department of Ag.
Yeah.
So whenever the first introduced hemp license, I was worried. I was like, man, I did all this work. I got to get this license. So I was up at midnight, hitting refresh, right? Just apply. Turns out I did it at the right time. I'm literally hemp license #1 in the history of Texas for hemp. But I didn't know this. They're giving out like 100,000 of them. Anyone could get them. So I was sitting there like an idiot, clicking refresh, and they're just giving them out basically for free.
Not like an idiot, like an entrepreneur. And I think that it's whatever like the views are of the people watching this and everything on cannabis and everything. Like the story of what you've done, you got to write a book. Like we in real estate we use coaching and we do all these things, and like you showed up. We always say the #1 thing that you need to do to be successful in your business is take action. And from the very beginning, like even from like when you said why don't you have a vending machine? You're like, I'm going to drive 12 hours. I'm going to drive to Houston. I'm going to do this. It's like that beats anything. Add some brains and add some smarts and stuff to it and everything. The tenaciousness is like, I applaud you. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great, but what most successful entrepreneurs don't have the wherewithal to admit is, luck plays a huge role. So we were right place, right time. I think we would have done well no matter what we did, but luck is a huge thing. I got lucky. I have the best employees. My employees are like robots. They don't even look up. I mean, they're amazing. I've trained. We have maybe a 96% retention rate. I've had the same people forever.
That's crazy.
But it's being prepared for when an opportunity presents itself, because the lucky ones get multiple opportunities. Not everyone gets that. We happen to be prepared for the opportunity we were given. So, like, if I'm speaking to other entrepreneurs and say someone started a company that didn't work out the way they thought it would, mine might not have either, I mean, a couple things could have went wrong and I wouldn't be where I am today. But you are going to get another opportunity.
Yeah.
Most people, the lucky ones get a lot of them, or the wealthy ones do. So just be prepared. Holden and I also, something that was huge for us is cannabis was so foreign at that time that we couldn't raise money, we couldn't get loans. I had to type a legal brief, and I sent it to 12 banks, and I got kicked out of 11 of them before I found a bank that would hold us. I had banked with RBFCU, right off Brooks, and my partner banked with the USAA. So we showed up to the bank one day, just regular transaction, and they had a check ready for us and said, get out. So, we've had these huge things we've had to overcome. Now we're with the bank, but You know, it took the 13th knock opportunity to finally get someone to work with us in a legal brief to even get banking in our industry.
That's crazy.
The first year I hired an accountant, they were like, I gave them the books, and they looked at me like I was insane. I had Cash, Venmo, Zelle. I mean, you name it. Zelle kicked me off for selling cannabis because I'm transparent. I don't lie to people. So, I mean, banking was a huge issue. Another huge issue that I hope I'm allowed to legally speak about was when we first opened our company, we were trying to think of names. And I was green out of law school. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, everyone think of a name. Everyone write down 2. We'll pick one tomorrow. So we picked one. And the one we picked was Wild Seed Hemp. So cool, great, right? Yeah. So like 6 months in, we buy all of our packaging. We get a sign, which was our biggest investment. We get our retail store here in San Antonio. And I asked our employees, I said, hey, I want everyone to reach out to one friend and leave us a review. And, you know, our employees it's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street, where it's like, this is Jordan, he does sales and used to sell weed. This guy, you know, if you ask my employees their last jobs, one of them was Radio Shack, one was Blockbuster. You know, they're all, you know, did similar things. So my friend gets his friend, whose name is Cookie, who's also a stoner, to leave a review. So I go check the review. I'm like, Jordan, where's your review? You know, that was your homework. You were tasked with it. And he said he left it. He sent me a screenshot. So I didn't think of anything about it. So about 2 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail and an email from Texas Monthly that says, would you like to comment on being sued by Wild Seed Farms? So I'm like,
I know Wild Seed Farms.
So I'm like, Wild Seed Farms, that's probably some small company. I'm just going to ignore it. So apparently Wild Seed Farms is the biggest flower producer in the United States. They have like hundreds of acres, and they produce flowers and send them all over the country. So I unknowingly chose the same name as a flower company within 100 miles of me. And the reason they found out was that Stoner left the review on the wrong company. So I wanted to argue, look, they cannot be mistaken. You know, we're hemp, they're flowers. It's a different industry. It's not an IP infringement. But he literally left the review. And to make it worse, it was like, they have the best shit. It smells so good. So we spent like
a total troll kind of.
Yeah, of course. So we spent maybe 50% of what we made the entire year to rebrand, get a new sign, and do all that.
So what did y'all change the name to?
It's the storefront's Bluebonnet CBD, but I would say we spend less than 1 hour there every 3 months. I haven't been to the store in years. Neither of
it's
them.
what you're sending out the other people packaging.
I quickly realized that I'm not good at waiting for people to come to me. I'd rather wholesale and be on the offensive, and I don't like retail. You know, this is not my thing. I don't speak well. I'm not a people's person.
Oh, you speak great.
But I can maintain relationships, and I can help people build companies.
But that goes back to the entrepreneur side of it. It's like, do you want to wait for business, or do you want to go find it and go get it? Your name's Hunter.
But I think that goes back to what he was saying. Like even from the beginning, from the vending machines, was you got to have the urgency and intensity, the speed to get what you want.
100%.
So you wanted those vending machines. You sped to get there. You wanted that license. You were at 1201 hitting refresh, license number 1. It's all about that speed to get what you want.
Yeah.
And where it's going to go.
Move fast and break things.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a emerging industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to. And of course you're going to take your licks on the way. But we didn't have any money. We didn't have any investor money. So the mistakes we made, we were able to control how much we lost. You know what I mean? Whereas if we would have raised $1 million and started our company, I guarantee you I wouldn't be where I was today. I wouldn't have learned how to grind the way I did and how to do every job, and I could have just hired things out. So it's very important that most entrepreneurs know it's going to be a lot harder to grow organically, but you will create something that is better positioned to survive anything if you do grow organically.
And that's what we're doing with All Things San Antonio. So like and subscribe below. We've got 103 subscribers as of right this second. It's recording. We're going to have more by the time this comes out. Hunter, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming out, man.
Yeah.
It's such a great story.
Thanks for coming.
It's awesome. Go visit Bluebonnet CBD. If you haven't tried a hemp-based product, I'm not going to recommend or not recommend, but I recommend.
Give it a shot.